Hello, Dr. Shiny here. Welcome to my tarot reading for the month of March for the sign Pisces. Wonderful to have you. If you haven't already done so, please check out my introductory videos where I will cover a little bit about how I read the cards and what you can expect to get from these readings and that kind of thing. Okay, but I will get right into your reading today. First of all, I want to note that you have three kings in your reading today, and the king that's missing I often find is significant, and the king that's missing is the king of coins. So what it's saying is that maybe you're feeling uh, so the American people call the American people materialistic, but in reality we're not very materialistic because we don't really revere or appreciate material things. We view it as sort of junk, as just lifeless stuff. A materialistic society would be more like a Native American society who believes in that all objects and rocks and trees and things like that have some degree of spirit and deserve some respect and that kind of thing. So what's happened here is I think that maybe you're caught up in a game a little too much and not recognizing the purpose for the game. So the metaphor would be like a businessman, like a Scrooge, who is so concerned with the game of the making money that they forget what money is actually designed for, which is, essentially making people live happy lives, is what it should be for, but it's not really used that way these days. So anyway, so that I think is maybe a small lesson that is present in this reading, and it doesn't necessarily have to be money related. This could be love related, right? This could be like you can have anybody you want, but there's really some person that you want, right? Or that kind of thing. So anyway, let me just get into it. Your current situation today is the King of Wands, and the King of Wands is a person who really excels at using his or her. This is a general reading, so it's not necessarily male, but it just indicates a sort of mastery over using one's willpower, especially abilities of manipulation, abilities of sort of like smiling the right way to get what you want from somebody or that kind of thing. You have a tremendous amount of ability here. Okay. What I see is crossing you is a new opportunity. So what could happen here is that something has come up that looks really enticing, and it's making you sort of second guess things. It's making you, perhaps you're sort of near the finish line of whatever it is that you're setting out to accomplish. Maybe you're near retirement or something like that, but there's like a new investment that pops up. Maybe you're really near to discovering if you're really in love with somebody, but then a flashy new person comes up or something like that. It's the White Rabbit. It's a new and interesting spark that is distracting and gets your attention, right? Something you want to follow a little bit. Well, what I'm seeing is that in your future is the Ten of Wands, which is about sort of over encumberment, taking on more than you can really handle. So what that means is that right now you have actually all the challenge that you need, even though you may crave more, you may crave continuing this process, of still climbing the ladder and things like that. You've already climbed possibly as high as you set out to, or as high as you need to. So keep that in mind. What I'm seeing in your consciousness and your higher thoughts is the Eight of Swords, which indicates that you're feeling a bit trapped. You're feeling as the result sort of your own perspective. So you're not necessarily trapped, it's just that you're feeling that way. So like I said, you don't have to take this opportunity that's in front of you, but you may feel that you have to, like there's something driving you towards it, because you could be really confusing your mind and what you want with what your heart wants. You see what I'm saying? Because your mind will sometimes push you in fine directions toward where your heart actually wants you to go, but the thing that your mind tells you that you want is very rarely the thing that your heart actually wants. It's just what you need to move toward to get closer to what your heart actually wants. So if you get hung up on these feelings late in your journey, they can start to lead you astray from what your heart truly desires, until you figure out sort of the lesson there, until you figure out that sometimes willpower, there's like a balance, there's a snaking motion that you go through of your life, where it's resistance versus dominance, or a fluid movement, you know, acceptance versus uh, imposing your will, you know, that type of thing. There's sort of a rhythm that you have to find, and you're so close to getting things right that you don't want to swing back onto that other side of the rhythm, but you're going to have to, you know. What I see in your past is the King of Cups, and the King of Cups is somebody who uh, really balances their emotions properly. This is sort of what led you to the situation that you're in, where you're now in a place where you're in command of your will and everything. Um, the reading suggests also that you have a very strong intellectual capacity. That, like I said, you're very close to like being this idyllic archetype of whatever it is that you're seeking to be. You know, you're very close to it. And in the foundation of the situation is the Six of Coins, which suggests that you have sort of an abundance, and it's so much that you have more than you need. So it's a time for you to figure out a way to bestow your blessing on other people now. So you've stored up, you know, you've been like a cup, and you've filled and filled and filled, and so now it's time for you to let go and allow those blessings to sort of affect another person, whether that be through teaching. Maybe it's time for you to retire and take a teaching position in your field, or maybe it's time for you to sort of stop scouring the market dating wise, you know, because you find a lot of cool, interesting people and learn a lot of things from each other and things like that. Maybe it's time for you to shift gears here and get into the more serious relationship, or vice versa. You know, maybe you've been looking for a serious relationship too hard, and it's time for you to sort of like lighten up, you know. It's really, I can't say whether one of those scenarios is the right one for you. You're going to have to figure that out for yourself, and that's the nature of that particular problem, but I'll see what I can do to give you some more advice here. What we're saying is, for your advice for the current situation, channel this energy, the King of Swords, which is your intellectual power, right? So instead of following your raw gut intuition at this time, it's asking you to take a step back and survey everything that you've accomplished, survey what you have, and what your options are, and really play them out. Try to find out where the best path of action is, based on your intellect and your five senses, that type of thing. Thinking, meditation, you know, thought, and you will probably come to a more rational solution or path forward than you're currently considering right now. Okay. Your current environment is the Knight of Wands. And the Knight of Wands has a very spontaneous, directed, or not necessarily directed, might not be the right word, but spontaneous and ambitious energy to it. It's very go-getter. It's very, you know, sometimes naive, a little immature, right? So children wanting to leave the nest and being rebellious and that kind of thing. It could be like that. So you have this type of energy around you, which is probably influencing you to some degree to keep going full speed, but it may again be time to kick down a gear and go into that sort of reflective state, and you know, survey what you have and be thankful and appreciative for it. Um, Your fears card is the Nine of Cups, and this sort of fits this situation because the Nine of Cups is really about the emotional fulfillment you get at sort of like a retirement stage, right? Like at a point where it's time to settle down a little bit, to sort of not have it cranked up to 11 right now, to dial it back, to share your knowledge with other people instead of just sucking it all in for yourself and building yourself. Now it's time for you to share what you've learned and, and be happy. Because that was really the whole point of your endeavors here, was to be happy. So now it's time for you to actually, jump off the train and be happy. And so there's that. Your overall message here is the Hanged Man. And the Hanged Man, again, cements home the need to suspend action, to step back, to meditate, right? And I'm not going to tell you to just never make a decision, but what I am going to say is that, however much you would have normally thought about it, think about it a couple extra times. You know what I mean? Like, just give it a little bit more meditation than you normally would. Really think about how this is going to affect your life, and the decision that you're making. It's an inevitable decision, so this is something that you can't really put off for too long. It's your hands are tied in the matter. It's something's going to end or change or shift regardless. So right now it's about finding the most elegant way to make that transition or that shift, whether that be the shift to more commitment or the shift to less. And again, that's not a direction that I can tell you. I thought I would be able to, but I do suggest that you keep in mind that the material is only as good as the purpose that it serves, right? So I hope that means something to you. Let me know how you liked this reading, and I will see you next month.